Imagine going through 143 spinal taps and still not getting the relief you need from the pain. Until you discover one thing, and that thing being cannabis. We're going to dive into Jessica's story, so won't you join the conversation? Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Organically Blunt. I am Jay Blaze, your host, and this evening I have the pleasure and the opportunity to speak with Jessica, also known as, what is your name of your company again? I don't want to butcher it. Is it
It's
Nug
Nug I'm
Buds?
the Nug Bud lady.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I knew I didn't want to say it wrong, so I wanted to catch myself there. Um, And I think they're the coolest thing ever. The first time I came across them was at a Michigan Gyms and Genetics event, and I came across your booth, and I think you were with a gentleman, and I said, I got to get a picture of this. And then now look at where we're at. We're right here on the show tonight. So we're
Yeah.
going to hear your story. With that being said, I'm going to open up the chat here so a couple people can see what's going on and I can communicate with them, but don't mind them. Don't be nervous now. So with that being said, you know, I as you can tell, it's been a little bit of a day for me, and everybody has them, and other than that, it's been a good day. Other than just obstacles getting in my way, but you know, that boils down to obstacles that you had to deal with, and I want to dive into that because I have an idea, but I don't personally know the details, and I kind of want to hear it from you, because then it is authentic. And with that being said, you went through 143 spinal taps before
Yeah.
the before this had occurred. Let's rewind it a little bit farther and let's get into the conversation of what caused you to have them type of surgeries and what exactly is a spinal tap.
Well, my story started in 2007. I had just graduated college and I went for an eye exam and was told, hey, you have a brain tumor. And I went, you're kidding me. So after a week of tests and MRIs and CAT scans and my very first spinal tap, it was discovered that I have a super rare condition called intracranial hypertension, which means I lose
Wow.
too much spinal fluid and it acts like a brain tumor with all the symptoms, but there's no mass to actually remove. So this was a shock, and I really didn't know what I was going to do or what I was in for. But the first couple years were pretty steady. I needed a spinal tap every 6 months, which means they took a 6-inch needle and put it in between my spinal column into the spinal cavity and removed excess fluid from there to relieve the pressure on my brain. And in
Wow.
2010, I started having seizures and was diagnosed with epilepsy. So at that point, my mom had said, well, why don't you try cannabis? And I said, no way. No, I'm like, I'll deal with the seizures. And after brain surgery twice, I was ready to give up. I was in so much pain every day. I was miserable. And then a few years later, I met my husband, who was the light of my life and still is. And I was bedridden because the pain was so bad. Like, I
Wow.
literally could not get out of bed. I was having seizures pretty much every day. And it was to the point that I wasn't having a life. I was on so many pain medications. I was on fentanyl, I was on Percocet, and I was on Vicodin. And this is daily. I was on all of them. And the pain was just so unbearable. And my husband said, please just try it. Now, I grew up being very stubborn and I admit, I thought very little of people who did pot. And I said, fine, I'm miserable. I will try anything. And oh my God, am I glad I did. Because I went from being bedridden to being able to run a business. And I went from having seizures nearly every day to once a year, to the
Wow.
point that I am able to get out of my house. I am able to go and do things with my husband. I am able to actually have a life again.
Definitely. That's amazing. My niece has epilepsy. We just found out this past year she had a seizure at school the first time. She has epilepsy, and what is triggers it is very bright lights, like concert style and stuff. She has to wear special glasses so that way, if somehow she walks past a bright light or something, it doesn't trigger it, and I can only imagine how difficult living with all that had to be. And then, being put in on fentanyl, which is one of the number one drugs that it's killing people on top of other opiates. You know, you a lot of people get addicted, they say,
Oh,
you
I
know.
was very addicted to all this pain medication, to the point my husband actually had to hide the pills because
Wow,
I I was in pain and it was the only thing that numbed it.
that's amazing. Yeah. Wow. And I'm glad you found the plant, and I'm glad that it works for you. So, that brings us to another question. How do you consume it? What is your preferred way?
I vape because I am very self-conscious around people. I'm becoming a lot more open about doing it in public. I actually did my first dab yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So that was exciting. But I vape um, just because I can do it anywhere and not have to worry about anybody judging me.
Definitely, I can relate to that. Yeah, definitely. So, have you ever had the chance to try RSO, just out of curiosity?
I have not. I'm still very new I've been vaping for about 6 years, but I'm still new into trying other things.
Sure, sure. No, that's very strong, and they use it for pain. They use it for treating cancer and brain tumors and things that basically you're going to have some extreme pain with. It is not for the weak, honestly. I mean, they recommend you taking roughly a grain of rice the first time you take it because it is so potent. Sometimes they even say, depending on who made it and how strong it is, even half of that to a quarter of that, because it is used to treat cancer patients that are going through radiation and pain like that. Rick Simpson, he had lesions on his arms and stuff, and he came up with this oil, and he used to rub it on his arms, and it made all these cancer lesions disappear. And they were asking him what he was putting on it, and he explained, that it was basically, I'm not 100% educated on the making process because I'm strictly a flower grower. But from what I understand, they took all the fecal matter and they basically turned it into like I can't even explain it. Like it's almost like a mud. And that's the only way I can explain it, or a tar. And they put it in a syringe, and you just take a little bit, and it's amazing. I've actually gotten people in this community to donate that to cancer patients that I've known. So it's an amazing thing. It really does do a lot of great healing. And if you ever had extreme pain, it might be a something that it might help you.
Yeah,
Just
it's
out of
something I'm definitely going to look into.
Definitely, because like me, I have extreme headaches. To the point that I'm on a lot of different medicines for it, but you know, they want me to try mushrooms, but in microdosing. I still haven't taken that plunge yet, so I kind of relate on kind of similar feeling that I'm kind of not for it yet. So I'm kind of like,
Yeah,
oh, do I really want to try it? But definitely, you got to take that plunge sometime and at least give it a try to see if it's going to work for you. And I'm glad you did, because here we are. And I want to bring up your Instagram here because I want to show people what you do. And if I can get it moving here. My computer is a little slow, so bear with me. All right. And kind of show you guys what she does. It's so creative. Let's see here. Find it. All right. And like I said, my laptop's slow. It's 11 years old now, so it's been upgraded, but it's still old. And let's see here. Slowpoke computer.
well, that comes up. I can explain. When I was
Yeah.
bedridden, I needed a hobby. I needed something I
Okay.
could do while I was in bed. And I took up knitting, and I progressed over the years and became better and better at it. And now
Definitely.
I have this.
Yeah, here we go, guys. I'm going to show you guys what she's talking about and what she does. These things are the coolest things ever, especially if you're a novelty nerd, kind of like myself. I'm into novelty things. Check this out. Here we go. All right. So, like, check this dude out. I mean, tell me this ain't the coolest thing you guys ever seen. I mean, think of like a Furby, but it's a bud and it's colorful and it's got these big eyes and it is handmade. I mean, you can't beat handmade, especially nowadays. This is so cool, definitely. And she started a new Instagram, which is her business name, the Nugbug Lady. And I think you guys should head on over there when you get a chance, or right now, if you got a chance, open your Instagram up, give her a follow. Let's show her some support here. And, check this out. I mean, she's even got the tattoo here, or somebody does.
I
That is
do.
so cool. Yeah, that is so cool. Wow. And that's good work, too. That is really good work. That is amazing. Yeah, and the show that you're passionate about your craft is definitely. I mean, look at her setup, guys. She goes to tons of shows and sets them up. Look at that huge one. I mean, that
Yeah,
thing is
I've got one right
humongous.
behind me.
That is so cool. That is so cool. So I'm gonna come back to the screen here with her, and but definitely, you guys should check her out and give her a follow if you got Instagram, because it is so cool. And I want to dive into, a little bit more of your journey with you, but I want to dive into, you know, your experience when you first smoked it. What was it like? I mean, how did you feel afterwards? Like, did you get high the first time, or did it take a couple times?
Well, at first I tried doing edibles and they didn't do anything for me. And
Okay.
I found out later it probably has to do with the fact I don't have a gallbladder.
Oh wow.
And so that can affect how you absorb them. So
Sure.
I was hesitant to try vaping, and I gave in. And the first time I did it, I was very spacey. I had to write that. I had to write down a story. I had inspiration and I needed to get it out.
Hey,
So
that's awesome.
the first time I
Definitely.
did it, I did get high, and I enjoyed myself.
That is awesome, and it had to been, if it was a hybrid that you smoked, it must have been heavy on the sativa side because sativas tend to motivate me, and I know a lot of people say the same thing. It's like an upper. It just motivates you. It gives you energy. You're
It
ready to
does.
go. And
It makes me batty.
same here, definitely, yeah. And that's what I mostly smoke and grow myself is sativas because or something heavy on it because I don't want that couch lock. Not all the time. I mean, if it's a chill day, definitely, I will definitely I would definitely do the indica or a hybrid that's heavy on the indica, but I prefer the sativas myself, but they're becoming more rare to find. They are.
For me, I have a lot of nerve damage in my back because of having so many spinal taps that I tend to do a lot of indicas because they calm that nerve pain down.
Sure.
So it works really well for me. And it doesn't make me couch locked or anything. I am perfectly
That's
fine on
awesome.
it, which I'm very glad about.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. I can't say the same with me. My metabolism must be a little bit different chemistry, but I if I smoke an indica, I just kind of want to not do anything, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna take a nap now. So, but you know, does it give you the munchies? I mean,
You
a lot of
know,
people say
only
they
on
get it.
occasion, but most
Okay,
of the time it doesn't.
sure, sure. If you were to get the munchies, though, what would you go to? Like, is it something sweet, salty? Is it something sour? Is it fruit? But everybody's got something, and for me, it's sour candy and Little Debbie's and Reese's Fast Breaks. I mean, and Sour Patch Kids. Them are mine, like guilty pleasures, and everybody has them, and it's one of the questions we tend to ask every guest. So I figured I'd give it a go and see what you had to say.
Ice cream. Ice cream is
Okay.
definitely mine and my husband's go-to. It is
Definitely.
definitely my biggest guilty pleasure.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. We all have one, and it's kind of intensified, at least sometimes when you get the munchies from smoking. I know not everybody gets it, but some people do, and when they do, I've heard a lot of unique things, especially when I talk to people from like Taiwan and Spain and stuff like that. Some of the unique things I've heard everything from gelatin and vegetables to waffles to Pop Tarts, just you name it, I've heard it. And it's like, okay, everybody's got something. And when we talk food on here, a lot of people tend to get the munchies in chat. And then they're like, oh, geez, thanks. Yeah. So sorry, guys, if I made you hungry. Um, but definitely, I want to know more about your business a little bit too, and what we can expect. Is there anything in the future you're working on that we should keep an eye out for?
Well, I'm always adding new colors. That is one
Okay,
of my favorite things to do. But I'm
definitely.
always working on some other sizes and other items that have to do with cannabis. I don't have any made at the moment because I sold out at 420, but I do bowls and bongs knitted as well. But
Wow,
right now, my favorite is the XL sizes.
that is sweet. I like that. Yeah, that's really cool.
They are
Definitely.
they're my favorite right now.
I can see why they're so cool, and they look cartoonish, but yet realistic, like characteristic. So like I don't even know how to explain them. You're the professional on them, but they are the coolest thing. When I seen them, you seen me, I stopped right at your booth with my camera, and I'm like, whoa, these things are cool. Because I got this couch behind me, so I'm gonna have to get some at the next event. Hopefully, I have the extra funds, and we'll we'll throw a couple on the couch behind us, so
Yeah.
that way they'll be in every episode, because I've got a couple collectibles all over behind me, throughout the years. You can see the Red Wings there. That was my grandma. However, I do it here. It's always backwards, but it's there. And that was my grandmother. She was a big Red Wings fan, and so I got her plaques after she passed away. She passed away from open heart surgery complications.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's my memorabilia of her. And then the pillow that you see on the couch with the Michigan thing on it, I designed that back when I used to have a print shop that I ran out of my house. So I like entrepreneurship, and I like people that try to make something on their own and get creative with it. So I definitely like what you came up with. And I would personally like to make a request if you ever make one, and let me know what it'll cost and we'll work it out. But I would like one done in camouflage. I know that's weird, but I would like one done with some camouflage material, but with the hair still. And you say why? Because or either that or like American flag. And I know it sounds weird, but I think a patriotic one to show my patriotism would be really cool.
I actually have one that has red, white, and blue little hairs on it.
That would be awesome. Yes, definitely. Definitely. I just like being outside the box. I don't want to be like anybody else. So, like,
You
you
should
know,
see some of my nugs. They go pretty good. I even offer
I
purple.
like that one. Purple's my favorite color. Definitely. Yeah, that is so cool. Oh, definitely. You guys check out her page, and I just can't say enough about how cool and unique it is. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity to make a product that nobody else has to offer. So, you
Thank
know,
you.
uh, but I want to dive into one of my final questions that I ask everybody, and then we'll kind of give you the floor to explain anything or anything you want to talk about. Kind of have the freedom to do so. And this final question, it has a rule. The rule is very simple to it. The rule is you cannot think of your answer. You got to blurt the first thing that comes to mind. Okay,
Okay.
so would that be, which is why we're called organically blunt, because we want you to be organic and just blunt about your answer and let it out. So, if you could smoke with anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why?
It would definitely be my mom.
Okay,
She passed away in about 9 years ago, and it was the most traumatic moment of my life. We were
definitely.
on our way to one of my spinal taps, and we pulled into the hospital, and she said she couldn't breathe. And
Wow,
within 10 minutes, she was gone.
that's insane.
And she used to get high when she was a teenager, and she would tell me about it. And at the time, I was like, no, I could never do that. But now, if I had the opportunity, I would love to get high with her.
Definitely. I can relate because I lost my grandma 9 years ago as well, to open heart surgery complications. And then I lost my grandfather just 3 years ago, 3 days before Christmas to COVID. I found him. But I did get to smoke with my grandfather. He was a cancer patient, and he had prostate cancer, and he beat that after 48 treatments of radiation and chemo. And then it came back, and it was in the colon, and it spread from the colon to his stomach, and it started to eat him up anyway. So we were dealing with that prior to COVID. But we used to always smoke. I've been growing for years, and my family's been into hemp for years. And they never got high, but they would grow hemp. And they wanted to get into the THC. My parents tried it, and my grandpa tried it before, but he wasn't his thing. But once he got cancer and stuff, he was kind of like you. He was on that prohibition mindset prior to trying it again. And basically he tried it again and he loved it for the pain relief. But he liked it to the point of edibles and butters. That's the way he liked it because he had COPD. He couldn't inhale very well.
That's
But
what my mom passed from, was COPD.
yeah, my grandma passed from that too. My family's a lot of my family's had it, and my grandmother, she got it to the point that it thinned her heart vessel out so thin that it was starting to bleed outside the heart,
Oh,
and they ripped her what they call her aorta, and when they were trying to do a valve replacement, and she bled out after 16 hours of surgery.
oh,
So
that's
yeah,
horrible.
my grandparents adopted me, so I dealt with tragedy in both their deaths, and that's my story, and that's how I formed this show. I formed this show. It's kind of like you forming your business. You needed to do something. I
Right.
needed to do something to comfort myself, so I wasn't as sheltered anymore after losing everything during COVID, and I developed this show, and matter of fact, I think not episode wise because we go by season, but video wise, I think you're my 400th video.
Wow.
Yep, 400 videos we have produced on this channel, guys. And we are approaching almost 80,000 views and almost 2,300 subscribers. So if you guys haven't already, click that bell, click that subscribe, make sure you're followed, make sure you hit that thumbs up and that like, make sure you leave me a comment. And I know that's a lot to ask, but it helps me be seen more so I can continue to produce content that you guys like to see, because I don't always know what you guys like to see. So if you have an idea for a show, drop it in the comments. Don't be afraid to let us know. You know, everybody has a story, and we want to share everybody's story with everybody. So, with that being said, is there anything else we haven't dived into with your story that we would like to hear about or you'd like to share?
Well, one thing I'd like to point out is my condition is extremely rare. Only 1 in 100,000 people have it.
Wow.
And because of that, it's not studied. There's no cure, there's no real treatment options. It kind of, you're told just to live with it. And I have had to fight for my treatment and my care from doctors my entire life. And I just want to say to people out there that aren't feeling well or have a condition or something wrong with them that isn't being taken seriously, fight for yourself. Fight and find a doctor that will take you seriously because
De-
it's so important. You know your body.
Definitely. Yeah, I can relate. I have alopecia areata, which is an autoimmune disease where my hair follicles are the disease of my body. So my autoimmune system is constantly fighting new hair follicles. And I know you guys are probably saying, well, he's got a nice beard now. If only you knew what this beard was hiding. I'm really good at what we call the comb over. and but I've also used hemp products and cut out so much things like GMOs and gluten and so many things I cut out, soy and dairy. And like you said, you got to listen to your body. I fired 5 doctors just in the past 3 years because they won't listen to what I have to say and listen to how I feel. I tell them I'm in my body. I know what I feel and I know it's not right and I know what I think is wrong. So, and not to dive on myself here because this show is about you, but I can relate, and that's how our conversations work here. We try to make it comfortable. It's a digital campfire, basically we're sitting around just chatting. And you know, I developed when I got alopecia, a weird coating on my tongue, and a lot of people have never seen it or nothing, but it was like a yeast, a bacteria. And not to get nasty, it was something I had to deal with, and I was embarrassed. And I kept going to my doctor, going to my doctor, going to my doctor, and he wouldn't listen to me. And I'm like, at first I thought I was allergic to my dentures, and I was like, I think I'm allergic to the glue or the dentures because I just gotten them when this developed. It was after I lost 36 teeth
Wow.
total. They pulled out in one day, and I don't know what the normal is. I might have had a few extra. I think the dentist said I had a couple extra teeth, which is weird, but not abnormal. But long story short, I developed this, and they ran me through allergy testing. I had 133 needles put in my back at one time. I had all kinds of stuff done, all kinds of stuff: MRIs, CAT scans, brain scans, because my tumors run in my family too. My sister has a brain tumor, and she can't have a baby because of it. It keeps throwing her blood off somehow. I know that sounds weird, but it throws something off in her system, and she can only go so far before the baby isn't delivered.
Mm,
And she went full term on the last one, but it was stillborn, unfortunately.
that's
And
really hard.
yeah, it's been very hard for my family. But so back to this, and I kept telling them, they're like, maybe it's this, maybe it's thrush, maybe it's they treated it for everything. Wouldn't go away, wouldn't go away. So I cut out gluten. A week later, it was gone. My body had a buildup of so much gluten yeast that it
Oh,
was
wow.
trying to release it through my tongue,
That's
and
crazy.
I proven it to my doctor, and he couldn't believe it. And now to this day, it's gone. But I don't eat gluten because it would cause a buildup, and I stay away from heavy starch. But my weakness is French fries from Chick-fil-A. Like, I love their fries, so like I limit to myself to one, maybe two if I'm spoiling myself a week, and that's it because I'm not supposed to have it. But so I can relate to listening to your body. You guys heard it, and that's why we're organically blunt, and that's why we grow organically here. Is because, like I explained in a lot of other videos, when you grow it yourself, for the most part, or it comes from a quality company that uses organics, you know what you're putting in your body, and you don't have to question it. And that is why you'll notice when we go to events here in the future, because I know I'm going to be at events you're going to be at. I know that for a fact. Uh, you'll see that I only smoke with a small circle of people and it's usually these guys that are putting on the events, like Country Roots and Michigan Gyms and Genetics and them guys and Dave and all those guys and Pants and all those because, well, and Leah Grows Green, all these great people from our community that I trust because I know they think of me consciously when they're making or growing their products because me, I can't have certain things. I'm allergic to tobacco too. So if you ever see someone hand a true blunt to me, I can't smoke it because I'm allergic to nicotine and consuming it. But you'll see that most of the time when random people come up to me in public and they offer me something, I usually say no because I can't trust what's in it and you never know. So that's a piece of advice from both of us here. You guys take that with a grain of salt. Make sure you think of what you're putting into your body before you consume it. So I want to dive into a few more questions I got for you before we let you go here. We're,
Absolutely.
we we just got over the half hour mark here, and typically we go an hour. We don't have to. If you feel you're ready to go or getting sleepy, just give me a hoot or a holler or whatever you want to call it, and we'll get you off the mic here. But have you ever tried actually growing the plant yourself?
I haven't. I don't have a very green thumb.
Okay.
And most of the plants that I've ever tried growing don't make it very far.
Definitely, because my ultimate people. Somebody asked me today. They said, "Well, what is your ultimate goal in life? What do you want to do?" Oops, my phone's going off here. Forgot to turn the ringer off. Oh, and I said, "Well, ultimate goal is I would love to teach people how to grow this plant organically and safely for themselves, and do it successfully from a beginner to an expert." And that's what I would like to do. So if you ever feel the need to want to learn, not only will I help you get the seeds to get started, but I'll coach you along the way. So that way we can make sure you can try to grow something yourself, because the journey of just growing the plant alone is like a zen. I'm telling you, and if you haven't, you'll see once you do, because you'll be in there checking on it every day almost. Because, and that's one of the things people, one of the big mistakes people make in the beginning, if you're growing indoors, is a lot. And if you're doing a photo period, it don't it bother as much if it's an auto. It does, but it don't. It can hermit, but is when people keep opening the tent to look on it, you know. But definitely, if you ever feel like you want to learn and you wanted somebody to help train you along the way, I'm more than willing to teach you. So
I greatly appreciate that. And right now
definitely,
I'm exploring more and more, so I might get to that point.
yeah, yeah, and it's fun, I mean, and autoflowers can be easier on some things, and they make it easier for people that might forget to change their light cycle, but there is complications that you kind of got to know off the bat. But with the right education, it's not hard. A lot of people are like, autoflowers are hard. Well, not really. I actually recommend autoflowers for beginners. A lot of people don't, but I do, because like I said, they don't forget to switch their light cycle, because the plant, what it does is in the vegetation of the growing period, it needs like an 18:6 basically light period. It could be give or take an hour or less or more. But once you get to 12 hours or less, it tells that plant that it's a shorter fall season, and it puts it into flower. So then it starts to produce the buds. So that's a little bit of education on my behalf. I mean, I'm always trying to share things that people might not know. Definitely. But is there anything else or any events coming up that we can find you at, where these people might be able to see you in the flesh and look at these products and just kind of feel them and see what they're about
Yeah,
firsthand?
this weekend actually I'm going to be at the Keystoners gathering in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
So
Definitely. So you really do travel quite a bit, because,
we do, because we're
man,
actually based in Ohio.
okay.
So
Wow.
we
Definitely.
go to all around the state and get to as many cannabis shows as we can.
Definitely. Definitely. I'm trying to get breaking, because I work a lot with country roots, soil, and amendments. We're trying to break into the Ohio market. So if anybody from Ohio has a favorite grow shop where they get their soil and some of their newts and all that stuff right now, drop me a name in the comment. Let me know the name of your favorite shop, if it's in Ohio or Pennsylvania or Indiana or Illinois, any of them surrounding states near Michigan, because we're looking to expand the soil business, and I'm trying to get them into new stores so they can get a quality living soil that is made right here in Michigan, and it's made by a family person such as yourself that is an entrepreneur that's just trying to fund for his family and put food on the table. And I love these entrepreneur stories. I love hearing about people's small businesses and supporting local, because at the end of the day, that's what we got to do. Because if we don't, these big companies are going to take over and drive us right out, and we can't let that happen. Same thing with our caregiver rights. If we got a medical card such as myself, I would hope that you're a medical patient, which I'm sure you will. You know, we got to stand up for them rights to be able to not only grow it, but possess it and have access to that medicine. So if you ever see your legislative representatives or anybody doing anything locally, make sure you stand up for your rights, because these pharmas and these metric companies, and unfortunately even these dispensaries, if they're not a micro or a local grow, they're out to basically be like your big stores like Walmart and Amazon and stuff like that. They basically just want to push you to buy it from them, not be able to grow it, not be able to get it anywhere else or anything else, because they want to monopolize that market. And my ringer's going off again here. Sorry. There we go. I shut it off. But definitely, we got somebody in the chat from Dodge City, Kansas. I got a friend. I think he became a police officer out there in Dodge City. His name is Luke. So if you ever get arrested by an officer by the name of Luke, he's from Muskegon, Michigan. So he's out there. I know a lot of people. I meet a lot of conversations, and sometimes I butcher people's names, and I always apologize for that, because as you can see, like I said, 400 videos, that's 400 people I'm talking to. And that's a lot of people over a 3-year period, and I try to remember faces, and usually I can remember you once I have you on the show, because I get people that are fans, and they'll come up to me at the events, and they'll be like, "Hey, it's blah blah blah. Do you remember me?" And I'll be like, I'll look like I'm spaced out, like, "No, I don't think I remember you." "Oh, but we talked. We did? Well, I'm sorry. I apologize." So definitely. Welcome to the show, Russ. We have somebody in the chat here, Russ, that is in the chat, and he's saying hello. So we get people from all over the UK and everything, and it's so cool that you travel and you get to expand out. I know there's going to be an event coming to, let me see here. It's not this weekend. Calendar here. So in 8 days, so a week and 1 day, which would be Friday. Not this Friday, next weekend, is Wolverine Trails. If you guys haven't checked them out, at Wolverine's Trails on IG, Instagram, they're going to be in, what's the name of the city? I can't even think of it. It's really close to the Indiana border. I want to say it's like 45 minutes from South Bend, Indiana. And I can't think of the name of it off the top. But I think it's like Suno, It starts with an S. I'm bad at cities too. So, but make sure you go check them out, because we're going to be out there next week. And I know I'm going to be there on Saturday for sure. So I'll probably come in Saturday morning or late Friday night and camp out, probably either 1 night or 2 nights. We'll see how things go. But I'll be out of there by Sunday morning, because I got to get back to work. But this event is strictly for the caregivers. So if you haven't heard of it and you don't got nothing going on, come out, check it out. I'd love to see you guys out there and checking everything out that is for the caregiver, because you're going to support nothing but local businesses there. There's not really a lot of metric. So a lot of entrepreneurs such as yourself and myself will be on display. It's going to be a great time. And then, I look forward to the Halloween party. Hopefully you're going to be out there.
With Gems and Genetics?
Yes. Every year.
Our plan.
Yep. And I will be dressing up again this year. Probably the same costume. I'm not going to say what. If you were there last year, you know what I'm going to be. But if you weren't, come find me. I'll be the guy with the camera. So find the right guy with the camera and costume, and you'll find me, because I'm kind of like the Where's Waldo. I don't like people to know who I am until they see me take my mask off to smoke or something. I kind of like to keep it a surprise. But all I'll say is I'm smoking, and you guys will have to find that costume. That's your clue. You know, if you know what that's movie that's from, well, you know who I'll be. So I'll be bouncing off the walls, and it'll be a good time. I love the creativity. So I hopefully you come up with some cool things for the Halloween season. I got a couple ideas I can spit to you for colors too that I think would be great if you haven't thought of a couple. But I think doing one like a candy corn or something like that would be kind of cool too.
I could definitely do that.
Yeah, it's just being unique and standing out. I'm a graphic design major, so my mind is always creative. Like I have ADHD too, so it's like I don't have a very long attention, so keep my mind going, keep colors going. I'm bright and I paint them pictures, so that's why I love creating graphics because I get to be creative, and that's why I can't work in a factory because it's the same thing every day and I can't do that. So that's why I do what I do, and I'm out on the road so much because if I wasn't, I would probably go nuts.
That's one thing I really like about the Nug Buds is it really gives me a chance to use my creativity because I actually have an art degree.
Oh
And
wow.
so actually getting to use some creativity and make new patterns and design colors, and it really gives me a chance to use some of what I went to school for.
Right, same here. I got the degree, and the only time I utilize it now is if I'm doing it for like a friend's business or myself. I don't really push the graphics so much because, unfortunately, for graphic designers, if you don't learn it, it's gonna defeat you, and that's AI.
Yeah.
AI, you either got to use it for a tool for your business, otherwise, it's gonna run you out of business if you're in the design thing, because it's so hard, to compete with something that can create an image in 5 seconds. Like, I got a friend that it does hand drawn things. You probably know him, T Dog the artist. If you haven't seen him, he's at a lot of events. Check him out, guys. Give him a follow as well because he hand draws all this stuff, and a lot of this art you guys see with these big name rappers and big name events, and you see these amazing art murals and logo designs. That's T Dog's work. You're not gonna do that with AI because trust me, we challenged it. I tried to create something similar to his work and it didn't even work. So nothing can beat hand drawn. You get that personal touch, and you get that personalization. So if anybody out there is looking to start a business and want a custom logo, I can tell you it's pricey, but I can tell you it's going to create that branding. And even though a logo is not a brand, it's going to help with your branding. It's a tool that helps you get out there. And, I'm glad to see that you made an IG with the business name in mind. And because, when you do that, it kind of makes you a little more official, and it gives you a chance. People be like, the Nug Bug lady. Oh yeah, I remember her. And then they type it in, and oh, there she is, and there you are. And I don't know if you're on Etsy too, but if you ain't, maybe you should consider it because I know that a lot of handmade people do Etsy, and I order a lot of stuff off there myself.
Yeah, I don't have an Etsy right now. I usually just sell off my Instagram
Okay.
or at shows.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the reasons I never had an Instagram with Nugbuds is I didn't expect it to take off. It was a friend asked me if I could knit a weed nugget, and I said, sure, I can. And came up with the pattern, and I posted it online, and it took off from there.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. It's like my friends that are 3D printer guys. Like, I don't know nothing about it, but I want one bad because I'm a creator. And I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, all these files are available on I forget the name of the website, but they're like, you can literally make anything on these things, cups and all these tools and little parts. And I'm like, don't tell me that, because I'll be sitting here like a kid with Legos making stuff all day long, and it'll be crazy. I got into sublimation printing, and that is very expensive. Like the dyes are like $80 a color. And think of a printer where you got all the ink cartridges, but now you got six to eight of them at $80 a piece. You're spending well over $500 every time you gotta replace the ink cartridges, and they only last about 6 months. With somebody that did business, I did heavy business, and it just got to be too expensive. So for you to do something like you do is amazing. My grandma used to crochet and knit and all that too. I tried it as a kid and I could never pick it up, but I can tell you, here's a little thing: I can sew, and a lot of people can't. You know, you gentlemen, if you can sew, you can fix your own clothes. So I recommend you at least learn how to do a stitch. But yeah, I mean, so we'll find you out there. Is there any events coming up in Michigan anytime soon that we can find you at?
I will be at Dank Girls.
Okay, yes. Yes, Chelsea's event. She's a good friend. She's a good friend of mine. Plus, you guys didn't hear this, but you did. I kind of got a crush. So, hey, just being honest, she's a very beautiful woman, and she's doing great things. You know, she's came a long ways. I've watched her story. I have yet to get her on the show. I've reached out to her a few times asking her, but hopefully she takes the plunge and comes on here, because she does things for the women's movement in this industry that are amazing, and puts these events and retreats together. I mean, some of them are co-ed, so you gentlemen can come too. And I can tell you, if you're looking for a lady and you're single, that's the event you want to go to, because she is friends with all the ladies, and it is a good thing. Yes. So, you know, yeah, I love empowering women in this industry, you know, and I love seeing more and more of them. We have a lot of great people on different avenues that basically do things on all levels of farming and entrepreneurship and business ownership. And I love seeing more and more of it. You know, I'm here to promote women too, because, you know, without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So we got to make it happen. Yeah. So with that being said, I appreciate you coming on the Organically Blunt show. Is there anything else we need to know, or once again, you want to shout out your Instagram where people can find you, and we'll end on that note?
I am the Nug Bud Lady, and I will be posting all kinds of new stuff on my page very, very soon, including a nice new color.
There you guys go. So with that being said, you know, everybody enjoy the rest of your evening, and as always, stay organically blunt. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
As we close this chapter of Organically Blunt, immense gratitude to our exceptional partners who fuel our growth journey. Seedsman Genetics, the seasoned seed bank with over 2 decades of experience. Grow Bag, your trusted storage solution to protect terps. Gorilla Grow Tent, crafting spaces for cultivating dreams. Kind LEDs, illuminating your green haven. Country Roots Soil and Amendments, nurturing roots for success. Atlas Seeds, a source of pure genetic treasures. Green Wolf Genetics, creators of botanic magic. Smoke and Stork Genetics, where passion meets potency. Humboldt Seed Company, committed to cultivating excellence. Extreme Gardening, elevating your gardening game. Rain Science Grow Bags, redefining plants' homes. 420 Fast Buds, pioneers of fast and furious growth. Captain Redbeard Seeds, sailing the seas of genetic innovation. Aero Mixer, the rheumatic heartbeat of your grow. Petra Tools, your trusted garden companions. SoFem Genetics, sowing seeds of FEMS and Build-A-Soil, building the foundation of your organic oasis. Lost Close Plant Therapy, healing and enhancing plant vitality. Unlock these exclusive deals with coupon code Organically Blunt at checkout. Until our next episode, stay connected and keep growing, and as always, stay organically blunt.